Hello, air signs, and welcome into your reading for the first half of April. Today, we'll be taking a look at jobs and careers, love and relationships, and then life path and mission. And before we get started, we will pull a card to see what crystal the divine is encouraging you to work with for the first half of the month, or what overall messages, since not every single one of these cards has an actual crystal on it. A lot of them do. So let's see what we've got. We've got pink spirit gold and limonite, and it's about transmutation, devotion, and divine feminine. So this will be an interesting one. We'll kind of weave this together with the messages that come in. So we're looking at air signs in general, and then I will pull cards individually for each of the signs within that. But this transmutation, that's like that magician energy. So it's how do you take these higher density, higher or heavier things and transform them into higher vibration, lighter types of energy. And then devotion, like staying true to your cause, and divine feminine. So that's really about bringing in a lot of that love and compassion and nurturing and understanding. So we'll put that right here. So that will be part of our message for today. And now we will go ahead and we'll start taking a look at the overall energy for all of the air signs. But as I shuffle, so some of the big things that are happening, and yes, I'm recording this on the 2nd. I meant to get it out in advance of the month starting, but the energies were just not cooperating. So as of yesterday, on the 1st, we had Mercury going into retrograde. And so it's going to be in retrograde until the 25th. So just a little bit less than a month, and this is going to be in Aries. So one of the things to watch out for, as always, during Mercury retrograde is watching out for, just kind of irritation, a little bit of grittiness, some arguments. Usually there's issues surrounding technology, communication, timing, things like that. But it's just like you just feel a half a bubble off. All right, and let's go ahead and take a look at job and careers real quick, and I'll talk about a couple of the other things going on. In the recent past, we have the Two of Pentacles. Current energy is Page of Swords in reverse, and next level of energy coming in is the Eight of Pentacles in reverse. So in the recent past with your job or your career, you felt like it's been this kind of juggling act, like you're weighing this decision. There's, maybe you're trying to choose between staying at your current job versus a new job. Do you want to change careers altogether? So you've been weighing this change kind of back and forth. And you're currently sitting in this sense of like almost cynicism and bluntness. So if you had been trying to work on something, maybe you thought you were making progress on here's the direction I want to go. And then, you kind of felt like the rug got pulled out from under you, or you're just not making the amount of progress that you wanted to in that respects. There also is this air of manipulation with that card, whether you've been trying to manipulate the structure and it hasn't worked, or whether you feel like you've been being manipulated at a work job type of scenario. The next level of energy coming in is the Eight of Pentacles in reverse. And so that has kind of this sense of like laziness, and you're letting your quality of work slide because of the fact that you haven't, you've felt like you've had to decide what you're going to do, but you haven't really been able to figure it out. So it kind of puts you in this, I just don't even care type of energy. So we'll see what that looks like for the individual signs, but that's kind of overall energy. And now we'll take a look at love and relationships. So one of the other things happening this month on the 5th is Venus is entering Aries. So that is a matter of like taking initiative in love and trying to make your love or your relationship feel fresh and new again. The other really, really big thing, and this will could affect jobs, your relationships, and your life path and mission, is on the 8th, we have the Aries solar eclipse. So that is going to be a total North Node eclipse conjoined with Chiron and Mercury. So it's really pushing to start new beginnings. And it's about leaving that familiar place behind that you've outgrown. And so from a job perspective, maybe you have outgrown that job, or maybe it's a relationship that you've outgrown. One of the things that comes to mind is, when people say, if they see you after 10, 20, 30 years of not seeing you, and, oh, you haven't changed a bit. And people think that's a compliment, but it's also at the same time kind of that sense of, wait a second, you're telling me I haven't grown up or changed at all in 10, 20, 30 years? I don't know that that's a compliment. So like as it relates to relationships, that sense of, it's a familiar place that you're in, but have you outgrown it? Have you gotten to a point where you need something more from life? Either you're growing apart or one of you's growing and the other one's not. So in the love and relationship line in the recent past, we've had the Chariot in reverse, and actually that came up in today's regular daily reading as well. So check that out if you haven't checked it out for Tuesday the 2nd. But the Chariot in reverse is kind of like you have the sense of like lacking direction, and there's kind of been some self-doubt and like some obstacles and some delays, and you just don't really feel like you're moving forward. It also has to do with unbalanced energy. And so, in the relationship, you felt like there's been this imbalance in the relationship. Energetically, one of you is giving more than the other, or one of you seems more, as I had a client used to say, dynamically engaged. One of you is more dynamically engaged in this relationship than the other. And that's leaving you feeling trapped. It's leaving you feeling like you're kind of stuck, like you don't want to move on from it, but you don't like the energy or the feel that's currently in it. But when you try to change it, maybe you've run into some obstacles or some resistance in whatever form that looks like, but you feel like you're stuck. For some of you, it could also be if you're in a committed relationship with somebody, there's the logistics of how would I get unstuck even if I wanted to. If you're married, the process of divorce might seem daunting. Maybe you have kids and all of these factors that come into play that it's like you feel like, oh, I want to make a change. And then as you start thinking about what all is involved in it, it's like, ew, I don't know, maybe I'll just, stick it out a little bit longer. Here, I'll pop that up so you can see that card, since I get bad glare in here. And then the next level of energy coming in is the moon in reverse. So this is kind of a sense of like confusion and self-delusion. It also has to do sometimes with repressed emotions. So it's a matter of like clearing that throat chakra and being able to clearly express yourself or say what it is that you want in the situation. So that looks like energetically that's kind of coming in. Now remember, whenever we look at tarot reads, the incoming energy is based on what is happening right now, and this being a continuation, or like the future energy is a continuation based on the energy today. So based on this energy of I feel trapped, if you sit in this energy of I feel trapped and you don't do anything about it, it's going to lead to this moon in reverse where you have these repressed emotions. You have this sense of confusion. You have this sense of self-delusion because you just have built it up that, well, I'm not happy, but I can't leave. So, and as I said, we'll take a look at these scenarios for each individual zodiac sign. But also remember, a lot of this feeling of being trapped comes back to this sense of devotion to your partner and your divine feminine energy. So divine feminine, this could be a scenario like you could be in a twin flame situation, but everybody has feminine and masculine energy. So your feminine energy is going to be that loving, nurturing, compassionate, caring type of energy, that receiving energy. It's not so action oriented like the masculine energy is. And so that sometimes perpetuates cycles of, when things are out of balance, if it's like that tendency, oh, I just need to give a little bit more. I just need to be a little more understanding. But then you end up feeling trapped. All right. Let's take a look now at life path and mission and see what wants to come through for our air signs. In the recent past, we have the Sun in reverse, currently sitting in the Ten of Cups in reverse, with the next level of energy being Six of Swords in reverse. So currently, or in the recent past, you've kind of felt this sense of like pessimism in terms of what is my life path. Maybe you had thought that you had it all figured out, and then something in your life came up and threw a wrench in that, and now you're going, and it left you in that state of, I guess I don't really know what my life path is because I thought that's what it was, and that's not materializing how I had anticipated. And so it's leaving you feeling like there's this sense of separation, or usually this has to do with like domestic harmony and bliss when it's in the upright. So in the reverse, you know, you could be having problems at home. If you're single, you could be feeling like you don't have that warm home feeling that you want. And then your next level of energy coming in, your Six of Swords in reverse, is this sense of again, feeling stuck in a rut, and that there's this element of instability in terms of what your life path and mission is, and that you're resisting positive change. So it's almost like the universe is trying to show you what your mission is, but you're resisting it. You're holding on to something, you know, and maybe it's because you feel like you're stuck in a relationship standpoint. So it's just not coming together, like you're resisting the positive change there. So that was our message overall for the air signs. Let's go ahead and look sign by sign and see what messages want to come through. So we will start with our Gemini. All right, so air signs. Gemini, what do we need to know for job and career? We also have our Knight of Wands energy and our Page of Swords in reverse. So the Knight of Wands energy is going to be that like bold, confident, adventurous type of energy. And then your Page of Swords in reverse is, again, some of this cynicism and kind of bluntness and feeling like you've been manipulated. So you have that card showing up twice for you, Gemini. So I think there's a really strong sense of, and here, since this is a kind of newer deck, I like to hold the cards up so you can see them a little bit better with the dogs. There really is that sense of feeling like you're being manipulated or just really cynical when it comes to what it is that you're looking for from a job perspective. So there is this push as well for this bolder type of like fearless, adventurous type of energy. Like, okay, well, if you've been getting lazy in your current path, let's do something new. Let's break out. Let's try something different and try to, you know, transmute that heavy energy, like this really dense energy that's pulling you down. Let's work on transmuting it and do something different. So that's what's coming through on the job perspective. And some of the oracle cards will probably also shed some additional light, but we'll go through the tarots first. Alrighty. Love and relationships for Gemini. What additional messages want to come through for you? We have our Two of Wands in reverse, and we have the Queen of Swords in reverse. So the Queen of Swords in reverse, that it has that energy of like cutting through all the nonsense, but when it's in the reverse, it's almost like it's doing that in more of like a bitter way. Kind of like that. It has kind of this same energy of this like dull, bitter, cynical type of energy as your Page of Swords in reverse. So there's a little bit of feeling jaded, I guess, with the way things are going relationship wise. And you have your Two of Wands, like you're avoiding making a change, and there's a lot of indecision going on there. So let's see from a timing perspective, when does it look like Gemini is going to actually be making any changes? Once you can stand on your own 2 feet. So that's kind of one of those cards of you have some additional healing to do. Let's pull one more to see what is the advice from Spirit in terms of what to do about this love relationship situation. Advice from Spirit. Wheel of Fortune. It is destined and fated. So that's something that you should know. And then one more. The High Priestess. So the High Priestess, that's going to be that divine feminine energy. So that is also what's coming in over here, the divine feminine energy. So that is kind of pushing to sit in your higher consciousness and, call in on that inner wisdom. So call on your archangels, call on, God, your ancestors, your spirit guides, the Virgin Mary, the archangels, whoever it is that you pray to or meditate to, really call on them for help and for some guidance in terms of how to bring love and that divine feminine energy into the situation, but doing it in a way that is not a self-delusional way. So you don't want to be sitting here just dumping more and more love at a situation that maybe requires a little bit more self-love. So remember, with this High Priestess energy, there's also a very strong element of self-love. So sometimes, especially if you're in a situation where you feel like your partner really needs to do a lot of healing. For example, you can't heal for your partner. They have to do it for themselves. It's destined and fated. They have to do it for themselves. Just like as a parent, you can't do everything for your child, even though you may feel like, oh, but I love them so much, I want to. You can't do everything for your child. They have to learn how to do things for themselves too. But definitely you're being called upon to sit in that inner wisdom, higher consciousness type of thing. So as it relates to life path and mission, we have the Hierophant and the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. So the Hierophant is going to be that, there's that element of it being a traditional type of structure, but also has a lot of energy of like a mentor, guru, shaman. So you might be being called to be a healer, to be a light worker, to be a way shower. And then with your Ace of Pentacles in reverse, there is a little bit of sense of like missed opportunities, or did you invest in something and it failed, whether that's financially invested in it, energetically invested in it, and that failure may be what is pushing you into this current energy of, feeling like you aren't sitting in a happy place domestically, and like you're resisting change because, oh, well, what if I invest in something again and it doesn't work? But at this point, I would encourage you to do a lot of meditating, calling on your guides, and tapping into that inner wisdom. And a lot of it too, if you are being called to be a light worker, a healer, a shaman, a guide, know that all of the struggles you go through also are there so that you can learn and you can overcome these things to be able to show other people how to overcome similar situations. All right, let's pull some oracle cards and see what wants to show up. A fiery climax approaches. And so this, this could be related to this relationship here. It could also be on the job front that you're getting to a point where it's like, okay, I'm tired of this energy of feeling like I'm being manipulated. So full moon in Aries, which is a fire sign, and then your dreams need a practical plan, full moon in Taurus. So you have some full moon energy here, which is about kind of closing up cycles. And so some of it, when I say your dreams need a practical plan, if you want to do something like whatever it is, whether it's job, whether it's life path, even if it's in relationships, whatever you're dreaming of, you need to have some sort of a plan to get there. Nobody who's dreamt of being a famous athlete or actor or something like that, they didn't do it by sitting on their couch all day just dreaming it. Like they had to go out and do something. They had to go out and practice. They had to go, audition, things like that. Then the card that flipped was share your voice, come out of the cave, and then it says persecution and expression. And keepers of the earth, you are not alone. Ancient ancestors stand beside you. So some of this, these colors all go really strongly here with this dreams need a practical plan. So if you are becoming a healer, share your voice, share what you've been through, because like I said, your story could be the roadmap that helps somebody else on their healing journey. All right. And lastly, here we have limitations inspire innovations. And so with this, whether it's from a job perspective, maybe you have a new business idea, or anything else, life path, whatever you feel like you're limited by. So if you currently feel like you're being limited by whatever your life circumstances are, it's going to inspire you to innovate, because you're not going to stay in this, I'm trapped, I'm blindfolded, my hands are tied, and I have all these swords around me. You're not going to stay there forever. At some point, you're going to have some aha moment, some innovation that's going to push you outside of that, because you're currently feeling limited by your current situation. So you'll have some sort of innovative idea or thought that will help push you out of that feeling of being trapped. And the big thing to remember as well with this card, and I like it in this deck because you can see it really well. So she's blindfolded and can't use her hands because they're tied behind her back. And she thinks that she's in prison because she knows there are swords around her. But notice the swords are behind her. There's only one that's actually standing or positioned there in front of her. And usually in tarot, the water is going to represent divine blessings. So the divine has poured out this water at her feet. She can't see where she's going, but if she has faith in the divine and just takes baby steps along this water, like feel the water at your feet, take those baby steps, and you will be able to make it out of that situation. It may not be sprinting out of the situation, but at least start taking baby steps. Like, don't let yourself stay there and say, well, until I can see everything absolutely clearly, I'm not going to do a thing. Take those baby steps, because that is going to start to break you free from these limitations. So that is the message for Gemini for the first half of April. And now we will move on to Libra. And we'll see what all wants to come in for Libra. Now with the eclipse that's coming up, this is in your opposite sign. So Libra sits opposite Aries. So all these things when we talk about, and Aries is in North Node, or North Node is in Aries. Remember that since that's your opposite sign, South Node right now is in your sign. It's in Libra. So South Node, remember, is all about letting go of the past. Like what is anchoring you into lower timelines. So this is also going to be the eclipse is going to be very emotional and powerful for you too, because the cardinal signs are the ones that are affected the most by this. So, all right, let's take a look at job and career. We have our 7 of Wands and we have our 9 of Swords. So 7 of Wands in reverse. And here we have this little dog that's kind of in this weakness and burnout and surrender. And with our 9 of Swords, this is this anxiety and trauma. The dog is just all curled up underneath all those swords. So for Libra, it looks like you're really struggling from a work perspective. Like you were at that point where you thought, things might go one way, and then they ended up maybe you were juggling between two things and you picked one and it kind of was a little bit of a disaster. And now, with your Page of Swords in reverse, this is like you're kind of in this cynical energy and, feeling like you're being manipulated or you have been manipulated. So you're just letting your quality and your attention at work slide, which is hard. Like you kind of, if you're getting lazy because of the fact that things haven't worked out, you might be letting things slide. But remember, if you're trying to get a new job, you want to make sure you don't burn too many bridges on the way out. because you still want to be able to be well respected in terms of the ability to be hired somewhere else. So let's take a look and see, when does that energy look like it's shifting? Like when will our Libras get out of this really heavy energy? Winter. So it looks like this is going to be persisting for a while. And remember, I think I made this comment in the general part. If you don't like what some of these future energies are looking like, now is the time to make changes that would impact the future part here. So if it seems like, oh my gosh, I have to sit here and, you know, if you're in the northern hemisphere, I have to wait this out for like another, you know, 6, 7, 8, 9 months to be able to find some relief here, then use your time now and really work on this transmutation. And how can you transform some of these lower vibe experiences into something more favorable, into something that's better serving you? So remember, with the eclipse coming up as well, that's really a good time to be breaking away from old patterns, old habits. With the last solar eclipse that was in 2017, kind of think back, what was going on in 2017? Because that was, almost look at it this way, that was like a door or a portal that was open. And this eclipse now is kind of like the culmination of that cycle for you. So maybe you started a new job in 2017 and it's just, you've been fighting up against stream with it and you're just ready to kind of be done. So use the energy of the eclipse as well if winter seems like it's too far off. All right, love and relationships, a couple more. We have the Hermit in reverse and we have the Magician in reverse. I think this is the first time I've seen this Hermit card. So it came up in the reverse, but here, I'll show you. This cute little dog holding the lantern. So Hermit in reverse. So Libra, for you, there's a sense of like loneliness and that you're withdrawing from your loved ones, and this sense of just like exile or sadness and feeling like you're stuck. And this sense of being stuck is making you feel lonely, making you feel withdrawn. The Magician in reverse is also a sense of like a lack of planning, and this also has an air of being manipulated, or like that usually it's that your talents are being wasted as it comes with relationships and love. It's sort of like your efforts are being overlooked. And when it's talking about that your talents are being wasted, it's almost this sense of you're pouring all this energy into a situation that is not going to be changing. So from that perspective, your talents are being wasted because you're pouring all this energy into something that's just not going to change. So there is that sense. So let's ask advice from Spirit. What can our Libras do to break out of this downward slide when it comes to relationships, or to this specific scenario? What can our Libras do? Six of Swords. So the Six of Swords is positive change and moving on and traveling. Now look here as well in this, the two dogs, I'll call it the parent and the child dog. They're in the boat. They don't have anything with them. It's just the cloaks on their back, and they're moving on. And this is the message there is, don't struggle against the flow to try to bring balance to it to feel justified. It's like that song, you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them. And the message that's coming through for Libras, and remember, take only what resonates. If this over here is not your storyline, then this part is not applicable. But if this does feel like this is your storyline and it's resonating with you, the message coming through here is, don't try to fight this person or the situation, the scenario, for them to see your worth and to come to this great aha moment. It's like that sense of just leave, and even if it feels imbalanced on your way out, just go. You're not going to be able to balance it and then go. So that is the message that's coming through for our Libras. All right, let's take a look at life path and mission. We have the Hanged Man, and we have the Page of Wands. This is a dapper dog with his hat on. All right, so the Page of Wands, this is this happy, excited, optimistic. Okay, admittedly, this dog does not have a happy, optimistic look on his face, but the Page of Wands card is about that some of those beginning steps. Like there's this excitement and optimism about being able to find your life path, your mission. There's a little bit, you also have this Hanged Man energy, which is about having this self-imposed period where you are pondering what this change is going to be. There is a sense of sacrifice, but there's also this adjustment and rebirth. Normally the person is actually hanging from the tree, but I guess they didn't want to have a dog hanging by its foot out of this tree. But it also has to do with kind of seeing things from a different perspective, and it's giving you the opportunity to rebirth the situation. And so here, the path was where you were sort of feeling jaded, like maybe you thought you knew what your life path was, and something wasn't unfolding the way you thought it was going to, and you were kind of feeling stuck. So this was the resisting positive change. So a little bit different, same card here in two different positions for you, Libra, but they could also be intertwined. Given that it's the same card showing up, these two lines could be intertwined, that maybe you thought that your life path was, and your mission was heavily tied to this person, and now with feeling trapped in the relationship and feeling like you have a sense of disharmony and not knowing what direction you're going, by addressing this feeling, by addressing this situation that is not in alignment with you, I think it can bring some alignment down here, some clarity, some realization as to what this life path is. Let's also pull a timing card here. This advice, this sense of moving on for the Libras who choose to go that direction. What does that timing look like of when that moving on happens? Summer. So coming up relatively soon here. And remember, as we're putting it in here with devotion and divine feminine, like I said at the very beginning, this doesn't necessarily mean just blindly pouring love and grace and compassion out to the other person. This is also about yourself. So notice that in this card, this moving on, the main central figure is moving on with a child. So in this one, you can see it's like the person is huddled up there with a child. So, some of it is that devotion to that child. Are you staying in a relationship or in a scenario that is not in the best interest of that child? But like you felt trapped, like you couldn't leave, but you're taking that child and escaping. That can also mean your inner child as well. If there's not human children or involved, it can also be your inner child, and having that fierce devotion to your inner child and using that divine feminine energy to really stand up for that inner child and advocate for that inner child. All right, let's take a look at the oracle cards and see what messages are coming through. A personal issue reaches resolution, full moon in Cancer. So Cancer comes up in the summertime. So that's kind of like the July, like late June, early July type of time frame. And it's coming to like a resolution. And so this would be consistent with the card for summer, that the relationship issue is going to be coming to a resolution this summer. All right, let's take a look at light worker card. We have the initiation, rite of passage, crossing the threshold. So I see this also aligning quite a bit with this card, with this Six of Swords card. Like it's almost this test from the universe of, will you stand up for yourself? Will you stand up for your inner child? Will you keep falling into these same patterns, or will you stand up and say, no, I'm it may forever change my life by doing this, but it's going to make me stronger. And you cross that threshold. All right, and let's take a look at our Sacred Creator card and see what wants to come through for you. Oops, this one is the one that flipped. What's your honest truth? And then Creator, Water. So you create your own reality or your own experience here, or you can co-create with the universe. So water is that, like the signs of blessings. And, so this is the blessings from the divine, that water. And what is your honest truth? So as you're sitting here looking at what do you want to do about the relationship scenario? What do you want to do about your life path and mission? It's going to take a lot of reflection and meditation, some of this self-imposed pondering to really see what is your truth. And then being able to have that energy, that courage, that 20 seconds of insane courage to stand up and say, this is what I want. Remember, so I talked about South Node being in Libra, in your sign. North Node is in Aries, which is all about being unapologetically you and standing in your truth. So that's what you're being pushed to think about, especially with the eclipse coming up, is what is your truth? What is the future that you want to manifest? So that is the message for Libra. And as always, take only what resonates and leave the rest behind. And now we will go ahead and move on to Aquarius. So let's see what messages want to come through for Aquarius. All right, so we have our 8 of Cups and our 4 of Pentacles. So those, typically I start up here, but since those jumped just as we were talking about Aquarius, let's just take them as general energy cards. So your 8 of Cups is going to be a sense of letting go and, walking away. So in this one, you have the dog and he's walking away from these cups. He's abandoning them and he's searching for something else. And, what is it that he's searching for is that stability. So this has a little bit of possessiveness, but it also has to do with material security and stability. But it's like kind of chasing this idea of, I want something that's more solid. I want something that I can control. Like I don't want to be at the mercy of, if it's from a job perspective, I don't want to be at the mercy of somebody else. This can also apply on the relationship side of, you're going in search of this stability, this security. So we'll put those, we'll just kind of set those over here on the side, and then we'll take a look. Specifically, job and careers for Aquarius. What other messages want to come through? We have the Star in reverse, and we have the Ace of Wands in reverse. So the Star in reverse is there's kind of a sense of like distrust, and you're feeling uninspired at work, maybe like a lack of faith that things are actually going to change and get better. Your Ace of Wands in reverse is the sense of like lack of creativity. You've lost, like there's been lost chances. So almost a little bit of this like regret, remorse is probably not really the right word, but regret, because there's been these chances that you've lost. So as it relates to, looking back at the original message, that you kind of felt like you were juggling these different priorities from a work or job perspective, and that left you feeling kind of cynical and blunt, and feeling like you may have been manipulated, because it seems like there were the two options and maybe you chose one that didn't work out the way you thought it was going to. And so then that's kind of making you lazy, because you just don't have the trust that something better is coming, and you just feel a little bit of that sense of hopelessness. So let's take a look and see what is the advice from Spirit as to how to overcome that. And this one, it flipped out. So we have our 3 of Pentacles. So the advice there is you need to work on some of the teamwork. Originally, it kind of flipped in the reverse, so that has to do with like apathy and rivalry. But let's see, we'll pull one more. What else does Aquarius need to know about this job situation? What What could they or should they do differently to move this? And then it's the Emperor in reverse. So this is kind of like this rigidity. So it seems like that structure is just not really conducive to you being able to grow. From a timing perspective, when does it look like Aquarius is going to move past this? And that came in at the most inopportune time. So something else might come up. Maybe this other pentacle, like the other part of the decision you were weighing, is going to come up later. So it looks like things might be a little bit of a struggle from the job perspective, but again, definitely work on rooting and some major meditation and reflection as to what is it that you want to do? Like, what direction do you want to go? Let's take a look at love and relationships for Aquarius. We have our 10 of Pentacles in reverse, and then we have our 8 of Pentacles in reverse. So 8 of Pentacles in reverse came up again, and before it was coming up in the job line, now it's coming up in the love and relationships line. And so that's about this sense of laziness and just kind of letting things slide. Like, because you feel trapped and because you feel like maybe you've been manipulated, there's some repressed emotions and confusion. You just don't know where you're going and you just feel trapped. It's kind of led you to this place of feeling lazy. And it's because it's brought out this sense of domestic instability. Maybe you have some debt, whether it's financial debt or energetically, you just feel like you're just absolutely depleted because you're trapped and you just keep looping. So let's take a look and see what is the advice from Spirit for Aquarius as to how to move past that energy, or what they should do next. So we have our 6 of Pentacles and we have our 5 of Pentacles. So it's interesting, all these pentacles that are coming out for you. And remember, Pentacles is very 3D physically based. So it's not necessarily just money. It's also your time, your energy. It's how you're going in your 3D world. So your 6 of Pentacles is, there's a sense of giving and charity and generosity. And 5 of Pentacles is being locked out of your blessings. So 5 of Pentacles is that struggle. So it's almost like if you keep giving, you're going to keep struggling. So that's kind of the message there, is that this is very 3D focused, and a lot of the conflicts that are coming up, a lot of the frustration is because you're living to 3D in this situation, and you need to pull back energetically and go within and really work on some of your healing. So doing things that are not so 3D focused, and take the shift off the 3D part. With the eclipse coming up, so the most recent total solar eclipse was in 2017. So there is a sense of, if a portal, think of it as like if a portal was open in 2017, this is the closing of it. So what lessons have you learned? What needs to be closed out? And for a lot of you, it may be whatever this relationship line is. The eclipse will put more focus on that, and because it's going to be very high energy and kind of this sense of like new beginnings. I'm tired of looping through these painful cycles. I'm tired of being so tired. So wanting a new, fresh start. All right, let's take a look at life path and mission. We have the Lovers in reverse, and we have our 2 of Pentacles, and we have our Knight of Pentacles. So the Lovers in reverse is about having some disharmony and like some distrust, like there's this imbalance. So if you feel like you thought you knew what direction things were going in terms of with your life path, there's kind of this imbalance that is skewing things. So remember the Lovers card, that's also Gemini. So you could be involved with a Gemini, a lot about communication as well. And you still have this energy of feeling like you're trying to juggle these conflicting ideas, or, figure out which direction to go. And then the last one that comes up, your Knight of Pentacles, is this sense of like hard work and working. So again, you're very, very 3D, because you had your there's pentacles up here, and then 4 more pentacles here, 2 more pentacles here, and then you have them over here, over here. So you're very much focused in the 3D part, and with some of this energy, this transmutation, devotion, divine feminine, it's pushing that in order to find some of this balance for you, Aquarius, you really need to go within and call on your higher self, on your inner wisdom, and stop being so 3D focused right now. All right. Let's take a look here. South Node, don't let your past hold you back. So South Node is in Libra right now, which was all about, kind of that balance, but don't let your past hold you back as you start thinking about what is it that you want to do, like what new experience do you want? What do you want this new chapter to look like for you? And then don't let whatever the past scenarios are dictate what your future is going to look like. Kind of have that brave step of moving forward. Council of Light, divine orchestration, helpers in the subtle realms. So this is calling on you, or this is encouraging you to call on your spirit guides, to call on your ancestors, to call on your higher self, the archangels, God, the Virgin Mary, whoever you pray to, whoever you meditate to really call on them for strength and guidance as to how to navigate through some of this, because it looks like there is quite a bit of heavy energy. And I think with the eclipse coming up, I think it's going to be a lot of purging of these heavier timelines, so that you can move into more of a place of bliss and happiness, kind of like turn over that page and really think about what sets your soul on fire. What is it that deep down you want? And then how can you start moving the pieces to be able to fall into place with what really sets your soul on fire? So that is the message for Aquarius, and that wraps up the air signs. So as always, take only what resonates with you and leave the rest behind. And I hope that you found this message to be helpful, and I wish you peace and joy along your journey. Until next time.